Hello everyone, today we have a stature build, a Howard the Duck stature build, and this is not one that runs the Hawk package. I think stature has some incredible value, some incredible benefit. Just as a card, a value card by itself, the Hawk package is just that consistency driver that really pushes it over the top. But can something else be competitive in its place? Now, I've been toying around with the idea of bringing back like a Ghost Rider play. For several days now, I've been brewing a whole bunch of different builds, and stature really fits pretty well into that. That allows you to more comfortably drop your Moon Knight, knowing that if it discards your Ghost Rider, that's fine. You'll keep your stature, you'll keep your other resources in your hand. If it hits something else, then you can resummon it with your Ghost Rider. This one actually takes it a step further. We run Zabu and Lady Sif in this version of this deck. That way we can really lean in, and sometimes we're going to do a surprise turn 6 Lady Sif into Ghost Rider resummon to slam an Infinite on the board, as well as impacting some of the other lanes ever so slightly. Now, as far as Howard's role in this deck, Howard the Duck is a 1-cost, 2-power card that has the ongoing ability. Tap this to see the top card of your deck. Now, this is going to be pretty good, not necessarily for Lockjaw, because Lockjaw just puts another card from your deck in that location, but cards like Jubilee and Iron Lad, those specifically target the top part of your deck. So using Howard the Duck in unison with either one of those gives you a pretty good insight of should you drop that play or not. It always feels bad to drop a Iron Lad and it copies the stature, to drop a Jubilee and it pulls a Sunspot, where sometimes you're going to be able to skip and wait one extra turn, play something else in the meantime, and then that next turn you can do Jubilee into Infinite instead. And having that information makes your plays that much more efficient and more potent, giving you a much better chance to position your cards in a way to win. Now, Howard the Duck is not absolutely necessary in this deck. Before this came out, I was actually toying around with this same build, but instead of Howard the Duck, I was using Vision in its place. You have to do a lot more guesswork, it raises the curve a bit, but it is still just about as effective and impactful as it is currently. But overall in my testing, Howard served so much fun niche uses with the Jubilee. I think he's going to be phenomenal in anything that wants to run Iron Lad. So maybe an ongoing deck that way your Iron Lad can make sure to copy a big, impactful, powerful ongoing card. Primarily, I'm scared of Galactus. Howard plus Iron Lad in Galactus gives them so much more flexibility. They're going to know what cards are going to come up, and they can play knowing whether they're going to have their Galactus that next turn, or should they play for like a last turn something else instead. And so they're going to have a lot more flexibility. That one scares me a lot. I'm going to test it out a little bit, but it scares me so very much. But for this first showcase, I wanted to try and showcase Howard the Duck outside of Iron Lad, because right now both of those are 6,000, and with High Evolutionary, I don't expect anybody to spend 6,000 on both of them right now. I honestly expect to see Howard the Duck very, very little, but I do think that insight and that information, so similar to a White Queen, that information that he gives, this is an information game. So you can use that information to know maybe you need to retreat. If you were going to do a Hail Mary Jubilee on the last turn, maybe it's going to pull a Zabu instead, and you know to retreat for 1 rather than gambling for 2, 4, or maybe even 8 cubes. And so overall, I've really enjoyed Howard the Duck. With the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have Asian Dude on phone. The first location is the Isle of Silence. We do have Howard the Duck in our starting hand, so we're going to get the full effect of his ability. We are definitely not going to play it into the Isle of Silence. We're going to go ahead and click on him. Next turn we'll get Moon Knight, which we won't necessarily use that information just yet, but we will use it very, very soon. So let's go ahead and do our Zabu also into the unknown location. I don't want Strange Academy to move it over into the Isle of Silence if we do end up needing that Zabu reduction to get like a Lady Sif plus a Ghost Rider on the same turn to kind of surprise the opponent with how much reach we're going to be able to have. So we get the hub, we get Jubilee here. So if we use Jubilee, it's going to pull into Sunspot. So we definitely know that we don't want to do Jubilee for any reason whatsoever. We are going to go with the Moon Knight. That will force them into discarding a card. That'll also force us into discarding a card. Hopefully theirs is going to be worse or less, worse than ours. We discard our She-Hulk. They get rid of their Enchantress. And so now we're looking at Howard the Duck, and we get... we get... Oh no. We get Infinite. And so we are now infinitely more confident. We're infinitely more confident that this is the right play. We know that last turn Jubilee would have gotten a dud. This turn on turn 4, we are going to get a massive, massive resource in return. We're going to go ahead and snap into it because we know that with this play, as long as it goes off, then we are going to have the flooded lane locked down. There is nothing that they're going to be able to do to come back from that massive of a deficit. And then we're still going to get the insight from Howard the Duck moving forward. And so they have Ghost, they have Armor. None of those are going to be enough for the sheer powerhouse unit of the Infinite. And so we have the Sunspot in the left lane that we'll be able to soak if we want to. Okay. Our next card is Magneto. Don't know that that's what we want to play. We can do Black Bolt into the Isle of Silence. Next turn, we can do a Ghost Rider. We did discard our She-Hulk, so we'll be able to resummon that. Is it enough, though, or should we just do that and then skip? It'd be really nice if we were able to see that we had Stature coming up. That would be beautiful in giving us the insight into how we should play this one. They lose their Daredevil. If they get Gamora, and they get the right call on Gamora, unfortunately, we could have just played Black Bolt here and it would have moved over, but ooh, we had to stop the Nebula from triggering. And so I was looking to see if there was anything that Magneto would pull. We would pull the Storm, but other than that, we'd be fine. So it'd be 10 power, so this would be the better play. The Ghost Rider was going to be the better play. We do get the 2-cube retreat. Let's go ahead and take it. Let's jump over into the next one to showcase Howard the Duck a little bit further. All right, next up we have Ballin' Squirrel. The first location being the Onslaught Citadel is pretty big, actually. We're going to be able to throw Zabu there and get a huge reduction. So they have Yondu, which hits our stature. We have to be on the lookout now for a Galactus play. This could be a Galactus deck. What? No. Ballin' Squirrel, you didn't go to the dark side, did you? Wouldn't do that. Okay, so Squirrel Girl. So this is just a Death Wave. Death Wave, I see. I definitely see Ballin' Squirrel play Death Wave more often than a Death Wave as compared to Galactus. So do we do Moon Knight here? Or we can do the Lady Sif. We can do the Lady Sif next turn to discard one of our big cards. Let's go ahead and skip and soak here. I do wish we had Howard the Duck to know what kind of cards are coming up. But I think skipping and soaking here is going to be probably the better play. Magneto does get pulled, so we can do Lady Sif. Let's do Lady Sif. We know that a Death Wave is we're going to lose our Sunspot. So we don't want to rely on that one as like a tempo grab. We don't want to rely on it as a like win condition, because I expect it to be gone. We're going to lose our Magneto, which is good. We don't want to lose the She-Hulk. That's just not great for us. I kind of think skip and soak here. We skip and soak. We can do Jubilee, Ghost Rider, and She-Hulk all in the last turn. We'll be able to move this Deathlock around. If they do a wave here, it's still going to be 2-2, and then it's going to be 0, actually. So they play the She-Hulk. Interesting. Okay. They play the She-Hulk, no wave. They have a 50-50 of getting just a massive, massive return in the Howard the Duck. Or not the Howard the Duck. Oh my gosh, the Infinite. We want Infinite here. We don't want Howard. As much as you're like a new cool card, and I'm excited to have you here, we don't want you to be we don't want you to be this pool. Okay, they stack into Necrotia. Okay, the Killmonger does come down. That's to be expected. And then what's their last play? It can't be anything big. Star-Lord. What? Star-Lord in a Death Wave? Wild, man. So the 50-50, I think we win regardless, but the 50-50 comes down here of if we get the massive Infinite payoff or not. Can we win all 3 lanes is going to be the big question. Is it going to be Howard the Duck? Yeah, we pull a duck. Ugh. Well, Howard, we know that the next card we have is Infinite. You're not a very good detective in this sense, but we are still able to win just off of the like the flexibility of that Lady Sif Ghost Rider combo. It's just so old school. It's so satisfying to pull off. We're going to go ahead and take the 2 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Crouching Donut. The first location is Savage Land. not great. It clogs up a lot of our space. So if we want to do something like Jubilee, if we want to do Ghost Rider, it makes it really difficult in this location. Now, Quantum Realm is really interesting, especially since we have Lady Sif. We can play Lady Sif. If we get Howard on the board, then we can know if we want to mess up our next turn draw or not, and if we want to rotate. And so, depending on what we draw here, we will probably rotate with Lady Sif. You get the Black Bolt, so let's go ahead and rotate. The worst case scenario is we get Stature, is we get Moon Knight, Howard. All of those are fine. This early in the game, all of those are absolutely fine. Crouching Donut is running a Nakia? Wild. Flips into Chavez, which is really, really big. And then we get Hal. We do flip into Howard, so we get the low roll. But we draw into Ghost Rider. We know the next card that we're going to have is Jubilee. Do we want to cycle our Ghost Rider? Cycling the Ghost Rider would resummon the Magneto. It'd give us one additional card and the potential to, I don't know, get Moon Knight, get Lady Sif again, and then resummon whatever is discarded. I think we're going to go with that. I do like the idea of drawing Jubilee next. That's really appealing because then you know what Jubilee's going to pull. You can tell where you should drop it a little bit more strategically, but that's all right. So Blade discarded their Apocalypse. Don't think I missed that. And then we rotate into Lady Sif. Can we get a Lady Sif? Nah, Stature. Stature's fine. And then we get Ghost Rider right back again. We don't have Zabu. Well, Zabu's there. We don't have Zabu. We don't have any other cards discarded, unfortunately. What I'm going to do is soak here. We're going to soak, and then we can probably do a Ghost Rider rotation. It's not going to give us much, but we will be able to do the rotation. So they have the Apocalypse. That's almost about all that they have. And so if we can make sure we're ahead in multiple lanes, we're okay. Let's do the She-Hulk here. We're going to do the Zabu. Oh, wait, that's not the last turn. Oh, no. Oh, okay, well, not the end of the world. What do we draw next? Moon Knight. We can do a Moon Knight plus a Ghost Rider. So we're going to get resummon one of these two. That was not planned. Oh, okay, yeah, we can still do it. The Iceman almost hurt us really badly, but it's perfectly fine. So the Moon Knight over here, the Ghost Rider resummon. That's actually going to discard one of their cards, right? But they don't have a Dracula, so I assume that they play it. If not, we're just helping them out. We have this lane locked down. We don't have to worry about rotating or putting any more power here. We're just looking to further extend these two lanes. Now, we may not have it. That turn 7 was kind of big. Moon Knight does hit our Infinite, which is huge. That means Ghost Rider is going to resummon that. That is a huge surge of power. The Apocalypse. I don't know what kind of deck this is, but we do get some insight from the Howard the Duck. It would have been the same play. I forgot about Howard the Duck on going into that last turn. I honestly thought this was going to end last turn, but otherwise we would have been able to see that we had the Moon Knight. We could have planned for it, but we didn't. Luckily, we played it the right way anyways. We're going to go ahead and take the 2 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Mex Toast. The first location is Grand Central. We'll pull into one of our resources after turn 5, which is big. We have a lot of really big, really powerful resources. Now we can also hide the Ghost Rider into the Dark Dimension if we don't quite have something discarded at the time that we need to, at the time that Grand Central is going to pull something onto the board. So nothing's going to reveal this turn with Lemuria when we get Howard the Duck. So let's go ahead and play Howard. I'm going to play him into Lemuria, but we're going to get Howard. We're going to be able to get some insight. Not this turn or not this upcoming turn, but the following turns we will. So do we do Zabu here, or do we go ahead and hide the Ghost Rider? We only have 2 4-cost cards, and honestly, we're going to play one this turn, so the only other thing that Zabu could be good for would be allowing us to do both Ghost Rider plus Lady Sif on the same turn, or like a Jubilee, but we're already going to have Ghost Rider down. I don't think we have to worry about that so much. Our next card is Black Bolt. Black Bolt's not terrible, honestly. Depending on, they have the beautiful nullified Thor variant. Depending on what is our next card, Lady Sif. Lady Sif honestly might be worth doing a Jubilee for. It feels like we should, because that's going to enable our Ghost Rider, but we're also going to top deck the Lady Sif, so we could do Lady Sif plus Stature plus Zabu on this next turn and be fine. As long as we don't play Lady Sif here, it will trigger first. Now, hopefully this just pulls into like a Jubilee. Because of that, I'm actually going to play Black Bolt over to the right. Hopefully we, in Grand Central, we pull into our Jubilee. That'd be huge. They lose their Spider-Woman. We pull into Stature. That's not what we wanted to pull into. And then the Odin does pull in here, which is big. It's a big resource for him. What is the next card? Moon Knight. I don't think we ever do that, though. That's only a handful of power. We could do something like 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's still not enough. All right, we're going to have to fight for this lane. Let's do this. Hope that this little bit extra is enough. I don't know. We know that they don't have Odin to re-trigger the Mjolnir. Hopefully they play all of their resources here, and we're able to make do. That's what we're fighting for. Stature getting pulled here was so unfortunate. The Doctor Doom is not going to do it. We are going to have well over the power level in Lemuria. Maybe they were going to have the, oh no, Jubilee. Okay. How big of a resource do they get? I don't think it's over 20. The Wasp is teeny tiny. And so it is not going to be able to overpower the resummon of the Ghost Rider. And even though Howard was not the critical factor in this one, sometimes it's going to give us the insight of, do we want to skip and float with the Sunspot because we're going to top deck the She-Hulk? Do we want to go ahead and play our cards out early because we're going to do a Magneto pool? It gives us a little bit of insight and a little bit of strategic advantage in where we place our cards, knowing what that next resource is. We're going to go ahead and take the 2 cubes, jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Kaladin. The first location is the Bifrost. We don't get Howard or Sunspot, that's fine. We do get Zabu, which is going to be one of the ways that we can surprise the opponent with how much reach we're going to have on the last turn. We'll go ahead and play Zabu into the unknown. I always get kind of skittish that the last location is going to be Fisk Tower, and that whenever Bifrost triggers, it'll destroy our resources. So it turns into Limbo. So we're going to be able to get quite a bit of value out of that extra turn, just because we can skip, we can soak, we can float. And they have Daredevil, so we have to be on the lookout for a Professor X a lot. Ooh, a Storm is an interesting one. So maybe this is just like a full lockdown style deck, and those can be tricky to deal with. All right, let's go She-Hulk into the flooded lane. We do have Ghost Rider, so now we can always do like a Lady Sif plus Ghost Rider on the last turn because we have Zabu. And so I think we might even just play Stature naturally out on the board. They have Iron Lad, which copies... I hate that I have to click into Iron Lad to figure out what it copies. It copies Spider-Man. So we know they're going to have a Spider-Man coming down next turn. If they have Jeff, that's fine. We have additional reach in our Sunspot. Ooh, and we get Magneto. I like the idea of Moon Knight, but I also like the idea of making sure we have these cards and these resources. So I think we're just going to Stature into Titan. He could Professor X lock the Limbo lane, and if so, that's relatively fine. It wouldn't be perfect because of the extra turn. If next turn was the last turn, that'd be fine. But outside of that, it puts a really big restriction on what we can play and where. We're just going to naturally play the Stature out. Never what you necessarily want to see or want to do. But I think it's fine. The Spider-Man does come down in Limbo. We knew that he had that from the Iron Lad. We knew he had the Spider-Man coming down. Does he have the Professor X to follow it up, though? That's going to be the big question. Because if not, we have some massive resource. Actually, I was thinking we had Stature plus these two. We don't. So instead, we... All right, we're going to snap into it. So do you guys see what I see? If they have a Professor X lock, that's fine. They can have the Limbo lane. Because we're going to have the Magneto come down. It's going to pull Storm. It's going to pull Iron Lad. It's going to pull Spider-Man. They'll be locked out of this lane, locked out of this lane, and locked out of this one on the final turn of the game. And so then we could always do Black Bolt. We could always do a Lady Sif and a Moon Knight. We just have a lot of reach from that point. Ooh, no, they play for mid. Interesting. Okay. So the Spider-Man stands alone in limbo. They do have the Gamora. That does increase their reach here. All right. It's a 50-50 of whether the card that gets pulled is Infinite or not. What we were probably going to angle towards is like all in the same lane, doing a Lady Sif and a Ghost Rider. I think maybe the Lady Sif plus the Ghost Rider here, since they didn't have any way to buff this up further, the 8 power from Black Bolt would be more than enough to secure the win. So we do get the cheeky 2 cubes. Howard did not make an appearance, so let's jump over to the next one, try and get one where he shows up. All right, next up we have DKFFIV. The first location is the Vibranium Mines, so we want to stay away from that one. For the longest time, what I knew DKFFIV for playing was a Death Wave. I think they have switched off of that, but that is what I knew them for playing for so very long. For at least like 4 seasons in a row. They had like an all black and white Death Wave. It was a lot of commitment. So they play armor into the far right lane. We do drop our Zabu Project Pegasus. Okay. Get Howard the Duck. Wow. I don't know that this is the right play. I don't know that this is the like absolute right play, but it's the play that we're gonna make. We're gonna empty our hand. We're gonna completely empty it. We're gonna Moon Knight to discard one of their resources. Ghost Rider to resummon our Magneto that we discard with the Moon Knight. Ooh, they have a Professor X lock in the Vibranium Mines, which is big. I do wish we would have played over there, but they played off of a hunch. It was a good hunch. That we weren't going to play for that location. We get Howard the Duck. They storm the far right lane. We do force them into discarding an Enchantress, which is not bad. Then we resummon our Magneto. That is going to leave them as is. We can skip and float. Certain we'll get Lady Sif, but we only have one space to play. So we're probably going to be angling for maybe the Infinite. But I also have to worry because this is very telltale of just a control heavy build. I have to be cautious and aware of a Spider-Man play. Spider-Man would be so detrimental. Not too. Oh, guys, do they Spider-Man us here? And if they do Spider-Man us, can we win with She-Hulk? It brings us up to 12. Spider-Man is 3. Then they're 1. They have to beat 11. We're gonna do it. No Spider-Man, no Spider-Man, Spider-Man, no Spider-Man, no Spider-Man. The only bit of luck or solace that we have is that they did play into the Vibranium Mine. They shuffled some Vibranium in their deck. They didn't. They did not. Okay. They did not have Spider-Man. So now they could have a Shang-Chi, and they do go last. They could Shang-Chi here, and that would just be nothing we could really do about it at that point. But this at least gives us a fighting chance. We have a massive lead in the right lane, and then it comes down to can we win here. A Shang-Chi plus really anything really does it. So Gamora, okay, Gamora's big, but not big enough. Our massive Infinite and Howard the Duck gave us the insight to know that that was coming up. So it was more beneficial to sit and wait and skip rather than playing out our She-Hulk in fear of the Spider-Man. So we were able to hold that one down just barely, but we were able to hold it down. We're going to go ahead and end the video here. I do think that Howard is going to be really good in like a Galactus Iron Lad, and I think he's going to pair incredibly well with Iron Lad. Just that really solid 4 cost, similar to how he has incredible synergy with the Jubilee play. I think he's going to have just the same synergy with Iron Lad, but I did want to showcase a deck that is a little bit more accessible. So if somebody's really interested in Howard the Duck, can you play him without Iron Lad? In our preliminary testing, we went 8-3. If you don't have Howard the Duck, but you want to play this deck, before this, I was running the deck with Vision instead of Howard the Duck. You have to do a lot more guesswork and hope work, and you can't always take that gamble with like a Jubilee. You can't take the gamble with hoping your next card is a a She-Hulk, so you skip that turn before. But it works just about as well, and it has just about as much impact and burst as you would expect from the same kind of shell. Howard just gives you that little bit of extra insight. And so we are going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. Do you want me to cover one more Howard the Duck build once I've experimented a little bit further? Or is one good for you guys? You want me to move on and focus on something else prior to Thursday's patch? Let me know what you prefer in the comments as well. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.